Once upon a time, there lived a wicked and jealous queen. She had a daughter who was both kind and breathtakingly beautiful. Princes from far and wide, from great kingdoms and humble lands, traveled to her court with dreams of marrying the princess. But the queen, filled with envy and bitterness, would give each suitor a dreadful condition. "Before you marry my daughter," she told them, "you must do something for me." Then she gave each prince an impossible task. When they inevitably failed, she declared coldly, "Now you will die." Her loyal woodcutter obeyed without question. Off came their heads. The queen sneered at her sorrowful daughter and hissed, "You will never marry," laughing at her pain with cruel satisfaction. In a distant land, in a small, poor kingdom, Prince Charles heard tales of the princess's beauty. He turned to his father, the king, and said earnestly, "I want to marry her." The king was aghast. "Never," he cried. "She'll kill you, my son. You are all I have. I cannot lose you. There are many beautiful women in the world. You don't need this one." But the prince's heart was set. He became so sad he could neither eat nor sleep. Seeing his only child wasting away, the king relented at last. "Go then," he said with a heavy heart. "Go to the princess. I pray you will do better than the others. I hope I see you again." At these words, joy returned to Prince Charles. He danced through the palace, ate heartily, and regained his strength. Then, without servants, his father was too poor to send any, he set out on his journey. "I'll find help along the way," he said with confidence. Not long into his travels, the prince spotted what looked like a mountain. Curious, he approached it. But it wasn't a mountain at all. It was a massive man, lying flat on his back, snoring in the sun. The prince stepped closer, and the giant stirred. "What are you doing here?" the prince asked. The man stretched and yawned. "I was asleep," he replied, "but now I'm awake, because of you." "Why were you sleeping here?" asked the prince. "I ate breakfast," said the man, "and now I need lunch." "What did you eat for breakfast?" asked the prince. 10 chickens and 100 cakes, said the man, licking his lips. "Will you be my servant?" asked the prince. "Give me food," said the man, "and I'll do anything for you." So the man, whom the prince now called Fat Man, followed him. Soon they came across another man, with his head down, one very large ear pressed to the ground. "What are you doing?" the prince asked. "I'm listening," said the man. "The flowers are blooming, birds are singing. I hear them in a country far across the sea." The prince's eyes widened. "Can you hear what's happening at the princess's palace?" he asked. The man nodded. "People are crying. Another prince has died." "Will you be my servant?" asked the prince. "Yes," said the man, who was now called Big Ear. The group journeyed on. Ahead, they saw 2 tall things by the roadside. "Trees?" guessed Fat Man. But Big Ear shook his head. "Their arms, the longest arms in the world." And sure enough, they led to a towering man. "You are incredibly tall," the prince said. "I can be even taller," said the man proudly. "Come with me," said the prince. "Be my servant." And so Long Arms joined them. Not long after, they met a man with a hand over one eye. "Is something wrong with your eye?" asked the prince. "No," said the man. "I can see everything, across oceans, through mountains and walls, but when things are close, I have to cover one eye to see properly." "You have sharp sight," said the prince. "Come with me, Quick Eyes." And Quick Eyes joined them. As the sun grew hotter, the prince opened his coat. Soon they came across a man in 2 thick coats, his face hidden beneath a large hat. "I'm cold," the man said, shivering. Cold? In this heat? Asked the prince. When I open my coat, said the man, the sun disappears. It snows. Everything freezes. The prince looked amazed. Come with me, cold man, but please don't open your coat unless I ask. At last, Prince Charles and his unusual companions reached the city. He went straight to the queen and said, I want to marry the princess. What must I do? The queen gave a sly smile. There are 3 tasks. Do them all, and she will be yours. Fail, and you know what happens. What is the first task? Asked the prince. A beautiful blue jewel fell into the river yesterday, said the queen. Bring it back before sunset. The prince turned to his servants. How can we find this jewel? He asked. Quick Eyes uncovered his eye and peered into the distance. I see it, he said. Over there, in the river. I can't reach it, said Long Arms, squinting. Without a word, Fat Man bent down and drank the entire river. The water vanished. The riverbed was dry. Long Arms reached in, pulled out the jewel, and handed it to the prince. When he returned it to the queen, her face turned red with anger. That night, she tossed and turned in bed, scheming a new plan. The next morning, the queen greeted the prince with a frosty smile. You must be hungry after your long journey, she said sweetly. Outside are 30 chickens. Eat them all before noon. I want nothing left, not a leg. May I invite a friend? Asked the prince. I don't like eating alone. You may invite one, the queen replied, thinking, he'll be dead by afternoon. She laughed behind her hand and turned to her daughter. He will fail. The prince brought Fat Man with him. Fat Man eagerly devoured the 30 chickens, then the queen's other animals, the bread from the kitchens, fruit from the trees, even vegetables in the ground. What else can I eat? He asked, finally full. Then he fell asleep. At noon, the queen called for her lunch, but nothing came. She stormed to the cook. Where is my meal? She demanded. A fat man ate everything, said the cook. The food, the animals, the gardens, all gone. The queen's fury grew hotter than fire, but she wasn't done yet. That night, she smiled sweetly at the prince. Will you dine with me tonight? She asked. Afterward, would you like to sit with the princess for 2 hours? I would love to, said the prince. You will not fall asleep? Asked the queen. Never, he promised. Because, the queen said darkly, if you do, the princess will vanish by magic, and then you will die. That evening, the prince wore his finest clothes. He dined with the queen, who kept their conversation cool and distant. Servants brought splendid food and rich wine. At one moment, when the prince wasn't looking, the queen slipped something into his drink. He sipped it, unaware. Then she led him up many stairs to a high tower room. The princess sat by the window, bathed in the red glow of the setting sun. Her dress, the river below, the flowers at the sill, all were the same soft color. The prince sat beside her. They were happy for a while, but soon the prince's eyelids grew heavy. He could no longer hear her words. He fell asleep. Half an hour passed. He awoke with a start. The princess was gone. He searched the room but found nothing. He ran to the window and saw Big Ear below. She's gone, he cried. We must find her. Long Arms pulled the prince down to the ground. Where is she? The prince asked desperately. Big Ear listened carefully. She's across the river, he said, inside a tree. Her mother's men put her there. Quick Eyes confirmed. I can see her. But how can we get there? Cried the prince. Cold Man stepped forward. I have an idea. He opened his coat. Snow began to fall. The river froze. Cold Man leapt onto the ice. They ran across and retrieved the princess. Long arms lifted the prince and princess back through the high window. They sat together once more, just as the door opened. The queen entered. She froze when she saw them. We're having a very interesting conversation, said the prince calmly, about rivers and trees. The queen forced a cold smile. It's late, she said. Your room is ready. Your servants may sleep there, too. The prince said good night to the princess, and he and his friends followed the queen. She led them to a large room, shut the door, and ran to the cook. Make a great fire under their room, she ordered. Soon the room grew stiflingly hot. The prince tried the door. It was locked. I hear a great fire below, said Big Ear. Wonderful, said Cold Man. I'm warm for the first time in my life. Open your coat, said the prince. As Cold Man did, the room cooled instantly. The queen listened at the door. She heard them talking and was furious. Make the fire hotter, she told the cook. Inside, Cold Man smiled. Now I'm really warm. They're cooking us, cried the others. Take off your coat, said the prince. He pulled it away. The room turned freezing, snow fell. Everyone shivered. The queen heard silence. They're dead, she said. She opened the door, and they all ran out. Let's sit by a fire, said the prince. My face is blue. At last, the queen realized she was beaten. She fled the country, and the prince married the princess. They lived happily ever after, and the good servants lived with them in peace.